How's it going, guys? AraDeek here. Adventures in comic books today. 2002 was a pretty key year for me because of the movie Spider-Man in theaters. Originally, my birthday party that year, my 13th birthday party, was scheduled to be a pool party. So we had it a little delayed. My birthday is in February for the summertime. Something fell through and last minute change of plans turned a pool party into an impromptu pizza and Spider-Man viewing party. And little did I know, my fledgling interest in comic books would be fully sparked that day, or at least fully realized. I remember finishing the movie and thinking, even more so than X-Men, that comic books were really cool. I don't care what anyone said. It wasn't a matter of popularity anymore. It was a matter of, okay, that was badass. I need to ingest more of this. I need more of this pop culture medium in my life. So I remember getting a few single issues here and there. Also at that time, I didn't understand that every Wednesday new comics came out. That was well over my head. Being only 13, I remember picking up a few trades. I picked up a really bad Spider-Man trade, I believe it was, of the Clone Saga, which is known by many as some of the worst Spider-Man books, but I got one of those. And I picked up for X-Men because the X-Men movie came out a few years prior, and that brought my interest back. On the note of X-Men, I got the Dark Phoenix saga. I remember getting a lot of single issues that didn't really, come to anything, and one-offs here and there, or maybe issue 1 and then issue 4, so there was no possible way I could have read the whole series. But for some reason, Batman Hush, or specifically Batman 608 by Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb, the cover definitely spoke to me. Loving Jim Lee's art because of the 90s X-Men that got me so inspired in comic books. And just, Batman. Again, Batman the Animated Series when I was younger. That and X-Men the Animated Series were the two key factors to get me into comics. That Batman cover, though, all the details on the grip of his boot swinging forward at the panel, looking like it's just about to kick past the camera and kick a villain behind you, and you could see all the detail of Batman as he's holding that grappling gun, the flow, all of it. I was hooked, and I hadn't even opened it up. I remember reading that book and thinking when I was done, wow, comic books can have compelling stories like this. They can actually reel you in. They can bring more to the table than what I initially perceived and what people kind of showed me, exposed to me. When it comes to comic books, it was that milder, more obvious, more, funny additional comic strips. So to see a little more serious tone and a little more action-packed for good reason, because as much as I loved Jim Lee's X-Men, looking back at it now, there was a level of action that was almost Bruckheimer level of explosions for the sake of explosions. Again, this is just how I kind of remember it, trying to think of the stories that were involved and not really remembering a lot of the stories. But the artwork, it shined. This is a pairing of great artwork and great writing, using Batman's complete rogues gallery for the time, using all of these villains, piecing together this complex story. In the story, we see Batman trying to figure out who this new villain, a bandage-faced man called Hush, what his motive is, how he knows so much about the Bat, and how he's able to manipulate and involve as many villains as he has. Using all of these other villains, it's a very good way to kind of give you some breadcrumbs along certain lines, and just when you think you've solved the whole puzzle, total change of pace, pulls the rug up from under you, and you're on another way. So that happens a lot in a really good way. The love interest of Catwoman is fantastic, and they analyze it in a really, in truly a proper way. It's not campy, it's not cheesy, it's proper. It just feels right. Also, we're using personal narrative like comic books can do a lot better than movies and TV, and that's having that main character doing the personal narrative device, not the thought bubbles, which we used to see a lot, but it is a full, proper personal narrative device, and it expands a lot into the emotional side of Bruce, of Bats. Our flashbacks are watercolor painted, which add this very surreal, dreamlike sense to it, and it's gorgeous. And every character just feels like they should. They really do. Even if they're acting strange for a moment, a later reveal will show proper motives and proper reasoning, at least along the guidelines of those individual characters. All in all, if you're just getting into reading comic books, if you're just kind of interested in Batman or some of his villains in his rogues gallery, this is an amazing book to check out. I would recommend the trade paperback, whether it's in softcover or hardcover or single issues. You can get this at local comic book stores. I personally shop at Mutiny Information Cafe on South Broadway. You can also get a hardcover edition, and I'm sure an absolute edition. With all that in mind, I would actually stay away from what they call the unwrapped edition. Even though it is showing Jim Lee's pencils in its bare form, there's more than a few pages that look like they've been put through a bad 1995 scanner and just never brought the real life to it. I personally own other versions of Unwrapped, and they've come out good, so I don't knock the Unwrapped series. I just think the Unwrapped product that they did for Batman Hush was subpar. Considering it was oversized and a deluxe edition, I was expecting better content. But other than that, this series is an amazing starting point. It's an amazing standalone. You don't have to read a stack of books before you get to this or a stack of books afterwards. You can just sit down and read it and feel content with the story you're given, which nowadays, in a time of binging, in a time of needing 10 different volumes, lots of people like that. It's also good to get your quick hits here and there. So, quick bite of comic book history and knowledge with Batman Hush by Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb. Definitely check it out. If you'd like to read this comic digitally, I'd highly recommend checking out DC Universe. I'm pretty sure you still get a week free promotion. And also with that, a lot of amazing original titles. Thousands of free digital comic books using that service right now. I'm just trying to support them since HBO Max is going to be a thing, and I don't know if DC Universe will continue to carry on with HBO Max taking over their DC original lineup. I think that's all on that. Thanks again for listening, guys. And big shout out to Mike D for doing the graphics on the beginning and after of the show. A little more professional feel, a little more updated style. Thanks for listening, guys. Stay safe.